One of the most active trade deadlines in recent memory for the NFL is 4 big-name players swap teams. Who came away with the best deal, and why did the Panthers trade Kelvin Benjamin? Cam and Harris have all the info and some winners and losers. Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson dueled this weekend in Seattle, but which one of them ends up higher on our MVP power rankings? Tom Brady was given the golden ticket from the Pats this weekend. How many years does he have left, and could Carson Wentz replace him as the league's best QB? Bell and Brown both make our list, but if you were starting a franchise, who would you rather have? And Trevor Siemian and Matt Moore both sucked win this weekend. Who comes in at number 1 on our LVP power rankings? All those questions will be answered right now.
Man crates, awesome gifts for men in real wooden crates, wrapped in a cocoon of duct tape, or housed in ammo cans that are virtually indestructible. Some gifts he'll get to assemble himself. Some gifts you'll beg him to share. And some gifts are sealed inside layers of rock-solid concrete. Gifts guys love, from grilling gear to old-school video games and more. Man crates, awesome gifts for men.
Hey folks, and welcome into this edition of NFL Daily here on Chat Sports Live. I'm Cam Rogers. That guy right there is Mr. Harris Rubenstein.
What's going on, team?
I think it's been a Harris Rubenstein, Cam Rogers marathon on NFL Daily lately.
Well, yesterday it was the Mitchell Wrens and Tom Downey marathon.
And that was a marathon in their own right.
But now we're taking over.
And about to get lit, folks, because it's week 9 in the NFL. It's Wednesday. It's time for MVP power rankings. Also talking least valuable player power rankings. The LVPs of the world, if you will. But Harris, before we get to all that, crazy day before the trade deadline yesterday. One
of the most active trade deadlines we've had maybe ever, Cam, in the NFL. Usually the trade deadline for the NFL pales in comparison to the baseball or the NBA trade deadline, even sometimes the NHL trade deadline. So good to see the NFL actually, catch up a little bit to the rest of the sports leagues for once.
Certainly was not a dull moment, and up until the waning seconds, if you will, towards that 4 o'clock deadline, there were some big-time moves.
Unless you're the Browns and don't understand what an email or a deadline is.
So I shall rephrase. Big moves and lack thereof big moves that could have been big
Our
moves.
CEO, James Yoder, who probably gets angrier at email errors than anyone else I've ever met, would have reamed out the Browns front office with their despicableness in terms of CCing the NFL on an email. So it's all about it.
So we are completely live for the next 45 minutes or so, ladies and gentlemen. We want you throwing in your thoughts. Perhaps we'll show your favorite player up in our MVP power rankings later. So definitely chime in with those comments. We'll show them throughout the broadcast. Let's get into our, shall we say, news and notes section here, mostly talking about the deals that went down before the trade deadline, Harris. And, of course, most notably, the Seattle Seahawks and the Houston Texans. We'll start there. Seahawks get their left tackle, Dwayne Brown, a Pro Bowl left tackle at that. Houston gets a 2018 fifth-round pick and a 2019 second-round pick. They also got Jeremy Lane, but he failed the physical. So they won't be getting Jeremy Lane. They'll be getting another round pick. I believe it is a 3rd round pick in the 2018 draft. So with that, the Houston Texans get a plethora of picks, and Seattle gets Dwayne Brown.
And it's kind of stunning that Jeremy Lane, that Jeremy Lane actually failed his physical, which is a pretty wild thing, because this actually would have been a great move for him, seeing as he just hasn't gotten a ton of playing time for the Seahawks, and when he hasn't been very good. So it would have been a nice change of scenery for him, but I believe if I'm correct, the Texans instead got a 3rd round pick instead of Jeremy Lane. So good trade for, I think, both sides, but the Seahawks, oh my God, they finally get to protect Russell Wilson.
This one was a big bombshell that came out a couple of days ago. Jimmy Garoppolo to the San Francisco 49ers in exchange for a 2018 second-round pick to the Patriots. You were flabbergasted at this.
I was flabbergasted at this, and if you want to hear my full recap of the trade, go check out the Chat Sports video podcast, the NFL by Chat Sports, on iTunes. You will find both my analysis of the Zeke suspension reinstatement, as well as my analysis of this trade. But initial analysis, the 49ers got their big-time QB without giving $150 million to Kirk Cousins, and the Patriots get the high draft pick that they've desperately needed for the past couple of years. Obviously didn't have a first-round pick last year because of Brandon Cooks. That second-round pick that they got for the 49ers, it's basically a first-round pick. I mean, it's going to be pick 33 or 34. So Pats get a high draft pick. 49ers don't have to pay a ridiculous amount of money for Kirk Cousins. Good for both sides.
It's certainly a big-time move for the 49ers.
Oh,
the grass is certainly greener now that they have Jimmy Garoppolo and not Brian Hoyer playing
100%,
quarterback.
100%.
So good move for the 49ers. Let's move along here. Philadelphia Eagles and Miami Dolphins went down with a big-time deal yesterday morning, Harris. Jay Ajayi has been dealt to the Philadelphia Eagles. The Miami Dolphins get a 2018 fourth-round pick. The question for me, Harris, how do they divvy up these carries now when you have Blunt and Ajayi, two similar backs?
That's kind of tough. It really depends on what's going on with Jay Ajayi's knee. I mean, if this was another franchise and all that team got back was a fourth-round pick for Jay Ajayi, who was incredible last year, I would be saying, oh, that team knows more than we do about the health of that specific player. However, it's the Dolphins, and I have no idea what they could possibly know about Jay Ajayi. They could have just made an awful trade also. So we don't really know. In terms of divvying up the carries, as of right now, Doug Peterson did say that LeGarrette Blount is still the starting running back, but
yeah, right.
We'll see how long that lasts. Blount still has, I believe, another year left on his contract with the Eagles. So we'll see what happens with this. It's going to be a very interesting duo, to say the least.
You know, it's interesting. Miami, they failed with Lamar Miller because he's way better than what they did with him.
Yeah.
And now they've just failed Jay Ajayi. So Miami, get it together, but they get that fourth-round pick there. Jay Ajayi to the Philadelphia Eagles. Another big move. This was towards the end of the trade deadline, Harris. The Buffalo Bills get their guy on the outside, Kelvin Benjamin. The Carolina Panthers get a third-round pick and a seventh-round pick. You don't understand this because of the Panther side of things, but I totally understand it because of the Bills.
Well, the great get for the Bills. The Bills just gave up a third-round pick, which they don't need because they have so many draft picks, and a seventh-round pick for a number one wide receiver. I don't know how good he is in terms of the scale of number one wide receivers, but, I mean, he's a massive target, and he's kind of what they needed the past couple of years. But what are the Panthers doing? You're 5-3. You have an above 500 record. You just traded away your franchise quarterback's favorite target. They don't have a natural. I mean, Devin Funchess, I guess, slides in and replaces him, but
he's no number
Devin
one.
Funchess is not that good. And again, this is Cam Newton. They must. All right, Cam. I have a theory. The Carolina Panthers hate Cam Newton. They hate Cam Newton. Why would you ever trade your franchise quarterback's favorite target for a bunch of draft picks when you're in the middle of playoff contention? I understand they weren't going to be able to re-sign him at the end of the season. Probably he's going to want a lot more money than they can offer, but it doesn't matter. Make the playoffs. I don't know if the Panthers can make the playoffs now, Cam. I really don't. I don't understand this trade at all for the Panthers. I don't get it.
For one thing, I don't understand that offense. They don't have an identity right now. They don't know how to use Christian McCaffrey correctly. Jonathan Stewart has been struggling. Offensive line is just and the wide receivers, they don't scare any opposing defense.
I think it was Jonathan Jones, the Panthers beat writer for the Charlotte Observer, had a great quote this morning. The Panthers don't run an offense. They just run plays for Christian McCaffrey. So that's not great. That's not good. Like the Panthers now have a worse Devin Funchess, a glorified Danny Amendola. We don't know what the heck Curtis Samuel is.
Yeah.
And Danny Woodhead. So I don't know what this Panthers offense is doing. I don't get it at all.
Okay, so big get for the Buffalo Bills as they have a gauntlet schedule coming up, including the Chargers, Saints, Patriots twice, etc. Let's get into the trade deadline winners, courtesy of Mitchell Renz, one of our senior writers here at Chat Sports. Wrote a nice article about this, talking about the San Francisco 49ers, the Seattle Seahawks, the Philadelphia Eagles, all for obvious reasons. The Seahawks get their Pro Bowl left tackle there for Russell Wilson. The rest of that offensive line, still a major concern. But the Philadelphia Eagles have a historically good running back in terms of yards per carry after contact. And for the San Francisco 49ers, obviously Jimmy Garoppolo, big-time get.
Yeah, and for the Seattle Seahawks in terms of that offensive line, the interior offensive line has actually, they haven't improved massively, but they have improved, at least in the interior. The outside, the two tackles have been absolutely abysmal. So we'll see what ends up happening with that Seahawks offensive line. Dwayne Brown is a huge get for them, and I really do think that they're going to be able to get him under contract next year as well. Big get for the 49ers. Good for them. And also, it'll make sure that Russell Wilson doesn't get hit so much. Thank God. Poor guy's been getting smoked the past couple of years.
All right, how about we check in with the losers here? We got the Cleveland Browns, the Miami Dolphins, obviously, because they always lose, and the New England Patriots. You know, I want to know your thoughts on New England here. Now they have Brian Hoyer backing up Brady.
I don't necessarily know if I'd call them losers, but at the same time, you're right. I mean, God forbid Tom Brady gets injured this year. Now it's Brian Hoyer, backup quarterback outside of Garoppolo. But if you're the Patriots, you kind of had to maximize your value on Garoppolo. And technically, while they didn't get a first-round pick, spin zone over here, the pick that they got from the 49ers will end up being higher than the pick that they drafted Garoppolo at. So technically they gained value, but they also lost value because now Brian Hoyer is the backup for the next 3 years, and you take that as you will.
Well, it's certainly a gift for the 49ers getting Jimmy Garoppolo.
Oh, big time.
How about a gift for your folks at home and for that guy, that special dude out there, that husband, that brother, whatever the case may be? Man Crates is the way to go, ladies and gentlemen. Head on to mancrates.com/chatsports to get these fantastic products, Harris. Let me describe it for you. Very simple. It's a crate that comes with a crowbar filled with personalized items that guys love. Talking about NFL barware.
I like those things.
College football barware,
also
college
like
basketball, etc.
That too.
A bacon crate.
I love bacon
You a
crates.
bacon guy? You
I'm
look
a
like
big bacon guy. I'm a big bacon guy.
So Man Crates has all of these awesome options. You got to check out this website. And hey, the commercials for gifts are already on.
These
Harris.
all sound like things that I enjoy.
Yes.
Cam. I'm dying for a Man Crate. We have a bunch of them in the office. I want a Man Crate. I want one. And I've been begging both my mom and my girlfriend for Man Crates for a couple weeks now. I demand Man Crates. I demand them.
You know what would be perfect? You go to your mom and you say, hey, Mom, can you get me a Man Crate? Then you go to somebody else, say Mariah, say, hey, can you get me a Man Crate? They both get you one. You get two.
Whoa.
Sneaky, right? So many thanks to Man Crates for coming along here on the program. NFL Daily Wednesday edition. You ready to get into some MVP power rankings?
I'm ready. I think we have a good list this week.
All right, so we are counting you down from 10 to 1. Let's get to number 10, Mr. Kareem Hunt, who I feel is the favorite, certainly to win Offensive Rookie of the Year.
I don't know about that one, Cam. Kareem Hunt's had a couple of rough, last couple of weeks has been a little bit rougher. I think, remember we talked about he was inevitably going to hit some sort of rookie wall, and he kind of has have it. I think it might be also teams keying in on him a little bit more, but he still does lead the NFL in yards per carries and total yards. His touchdown numbers have taken a little bit of a step back recently, and he did get shut down pretty heavily against the Broncos. But I will say this, still is in the middle of one of the great rookie running back seasons that we've seen in the past couple of years, including Ezekiel Elliott last year. So Kareem Hunt's looked great. He's taken a couple steps back the last couple of weeks, but by no means is he having a bad season. He's still having an outstanding season.
So in the NFL, we have the most rookie scrimmage yards through Week 8 in NFL history, and Kareem Hunt a big reason for that.
Does Deshaun Watson passing yards also count as yards from scrimmage?
That does not count.
That
So
does
we're
not
talking
count.
about
Okay.
running backs
and
receiving
wide
and
receivers.
running backs
Okay.
rushing.
Ah.
So think Alvin Kamara and Leonard
Okay.
Fournette, all
Okay.
of these young backs that are getting it done in the NFL. So
Got
great
it.
job
Got it.
for Kareem Hunt. He checks in at number 10 in our MVP power rankings. Let's go to number 9. This guy's been a fixture in our list. Todd Gurley, coming off a bye, of course, of the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah, and I think for those of you at home who are like, how do you have Todd Gurley over Kareem Hunt? I think you take Todd Gurley off of this team, and the Rams might barely be a 500 team. I think if you take Kareem Hunt off of the Chiefs, they'd still be an above 500 team. They'd probably still be leading their division because their division's pretty bad. But I think without Todd Gurley, this Rams team is just in the complete darkness. He's been so good for Jared Goff to have a legitimate dump-off option this year. He's been great in the run game as well. I mean, we've talked about how that Rams offensive line wasn't good last year, and then all of a sudden this year just completely turned it around. And I think that Gurley being, number one, fully healthy, and two, being more aggressive has also really helped them. He currently sits top 5 as well in rushing yards and also doing great in the receiving game as well. I think Todd Gurley will continue to be a stalwart on our list unless he completely falls off the table.
Todd Gurley has been fantastic in many facets of the run game and pass protection as well. So Todd Gurley getting it done there at number 9. Let's check in with number 8 here. We have Russell Wilson cracking the top 10 in our MVP power rankings. Quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks coming off a historic day versus Houston.
Yeah, historic day for sure. And I mean, the reason we had Russell Wilson on this list after week 1. He had a couple down weeks against both Indianapolis and the Rams. But the past 2 weeks.
But it's November now, Harris.
It is. It is November now. But over the past 2 weeks, he has combined for almost 800 passing yards, 7 touchdowns, and 1 pick in the past 2 games. Both of them have been quarterback ratings of over 120. So we had to include him on this week's list. The offensive line has sealed up since their game against the Rams. They've been an offensive powerhouse since, and Russell Wilson has been the reason behind that. He's been playing outstanding, and I think he's going to creep up this list the farther into the season we go.
So that Houston-Seattle game, which was a shootout in of itself, ranked this for the 6th time in the NFL, Harris, that opposing quarterbacks each passed for at least 400 yards and threw for 4 touchdowns in that same game. The last time that happened, you may remember this game, 2013, Brady and Roethlisberger.
Ooh,
both did it.
I remember that game, actually.
And then before that, it was actually Romo and Manning that same year. So,
interesting.
Russell Wilson checking in at number 8. Of course, we want you commenting, throwing in your thoughts throughout our rankings. Danny checking in. Danny, thanks for watching, but what are you smoking?
I don't know what he's referring to.
Yeah, you have to be more specific.
Yeah, I'm a little confused about like what exactly we might be smoking and who exactly he is referring to. So kind of confusing. I'm not actually smoking anything, but I'm guessing you might mean Todd Gurley over Kareem Hunt. I don't know. Danny Lugo, throw us another comment. Maybe we'll see what you got. Let's move on, Cam. Let's move on to our next number. And Cam, coming in at number 7, we have a pretty high quality guy. He was beaten, unfortunately, by Russell Wilson, but we have Deshaun Watson, who the reason I have him ahead of Russell Wilson, or we have him at least, he is currently broken he this past week broke the record for most passing touchdowns through a quarterback's first 7 starts with 19. We'll have a trivia question later about Deshaun Watson, but he has been absolutely spectacular. He, in my opinion, is the faraway front runner right now for Offensive Rookie of the Year. He walked into Seattle. I know he had 3 picks. I get it. But if you watch that game, for a rookie quarterback to walk into Seattle and do what he did against one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in football, it was a very impressive performance from him. He's been nothing but spectacular since he's gone on the Texans. And to be totally honest, he's probably the only reason the Texans are even in football games right now. The rest of the team is not that good.
I've been giving him credit all year. This guy is a gamer. He's meant for prime time. And Watson, folks, is the first player in NFL history to register at least 400 passing yards, 4 touchdown passes, and 50 rushing yards in a single game. This guy kind of feels like, maybe he has that kind of MO where he can carry a team. Like he almost won that game single-handedly, kind of like you said,
right,
against Seattle. So very impressive. And when you play against the Legion of Boom as a rookie in Seattle and throw up those numbers, ultra impressive. We have Roderick throwing in a comment. We'll check in with Mr. Roderick. What about Eli Manning and Drew Brees? Well,
Eli Manning will not grace this list.
Eli Manning
he will not.
Awful.
And also, Drew Brees looks great. We do have a trivia question, though, Cam. We do have a trivia question coming off of the incredible performance from Deshaun Watson. So here we go, Cam. Here's our question. Whose record did Deshaun Watson just break for most rookie touchdown passes through 7 games? He just broke it that last week with 19 touchdown passes through 7 games. Cam, do you have a guess for whose record he might have broken?
Touchdown passes through 7 games. I always like to go to Dan Marino when I think of quarterback records.
Dan Marino. Unfortunately, Cam, you are not correct. We're going to do one more person. We will have the answer on the other side of our next player.
So throw in your guesses, folks.
Yes, please. We want to hear. We love doing these, so we'll have a couple.
Okay, so there's your trivia question, folks. Throw in those responses as we move along here in our rankings. Number 7. Well, actually, that is Mr. Deshaun Watson. But we do have this is Antonio Brown here. He's actually at number 6, however. And Antonio Brown, as we show you highlights from Deshaun Watson here, we apologize for that, folks. We'll get that fixed. Antonio Brown is at number 6, Harris,
yep.
and he is coming
off
of really a solid game against Detroit. I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster stole the headlines with that amazing 97-yard reception, but obviously Antonio Brown is the wideout in the NFL right now.
Cam, do you know a stat I always love to look at? It's one of my weekly joys. How far ahead is Antonio Brown in receiving yardage from everyone else? Antonio Brown currently has 835 total receiving yards, as we'll show you guys in a second. He only had 70 receiving yards last week, 835. Guess how much the number 2 guy in the NFL has?
Who's that?
It would be Adam Thielen, which is kind of a surprising one. 627. Antonio Brown has a full DeAndre Hopkins versus Seattle receiving amount more than the number 2 guy in the NFL. He is over 230 receiving yards higher than DeAndre Hopkins at number 3. Antonio Brown is the best wide receiver in football, and he will remain the best wide receiver in football for most likely the rest of the year. He's fantastic.
He is the all-around package in terms of wide receiving ability. Antonio Brown continues to be consistent, and he is going to feast against this Colts secondary this week, Harris, actually, because, Antonio Brown will be on a bye. The Colts will be battling the Houston Texans, but I will say DeAndre Hopkins will go off against those Colts. As we bring in a trivia question, we had it up. I wonder if anyone got it, Harris. Whose record did Deshaun Watson just break for most rookie touchdown passes through 7 games?
So we'll bring up a couple of answers first from our actual people. So first we have Austin Morgan saying Big Ben. It is not Big Ben, however, that is a good guess. We have another one from Antrezeno. Excuse me if I'm saying your name incorrectly. Cam Newton, that is also incorrect. Aaron Wright's coming in with Mariota. That is also incorrect. And then Paul Naglich with Kurt Warner. And Paul, you are correct. It was Kurt Warner's record that Deshaun Watson broke for most rookie touchdown passes through 7 games. Congratulations to you, Paul. Fantastic guess. That's what we like to see.
Okay.
I like that people like our trivia questions. That was a good one.
The greatest show on turf, Mr. Kurt Warner.
Yes.
So there you have it. Many thanks to all the folks out there who were chiming in, and many thanks to Man Crates for coming along here on NFL Daily. Head on to mancrates.com/chat sports for a box full of goodies guys love. Named off a few examples for you, Harris. We'll rename a couple. You got the bacon crate. You have the Bass Whisperer crate. So we're talking all those fishing aficionados would love that crate.
I don't fish.
Well, you have the NFL barware and college football barware.
That's also for me.
So many options. Really check it out. It's a fantastic company, fantastic product, and a really cool concept. Comes with a crowbar that you can actually pry the box open with. So,
I like it.
Really cool. Many thanks to Man Crates for coming along here on NFL Daily on this Wednesday, November 1st. We have our...
Happy November.
Happy November, everybody. We have our reoccurring segment, Least Valuable Player Power Rankings, and we just kind of put number 5 as a collective whole because it was that bad just recently, Harris. Number 5, the Detroit Lions red zone offense. Take it away, buddy.
So against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday Night Football, the Detroit Lions got to the red zone 5 times. They ended up getting 5 field goals, Cam. They failed at a touchdown every single time they got into the red zone. Matt Stafford on the night had 425 total passing yards, no touchdowns, and no interceptions. So the Detroit Lions red zone offense needs some serious work. Eric Ebron can't get anything going. Golden Tate and Marvin Jones are too small. This offense has not made sense. Where's Kenny Galladay, man? Is Kenny Galladay hurt?
Remember he had like a big start and then just dropped off.
Where's our 6'3" monster? Where did he go? So not the best thing, but the Lions red zone offense was absolutely pathetic this year. So thank you, Lions red zone offense, for giving us some pretty, or at least giving me some hearty laughs this week.
So the Detroit Lions absolutely stunk. And a team that is stinking right now in the Cleveland Browns, Harris, may just have some help. We have some breaking news just coming into the Chat Sports Studios. Wide receiver Josh Gordon has been reinstated on a conditional basis. This was reported just moments ago, Harris, on Twitter.
There is only one thing that can be said, Cam. One thing. Stay off the weed, Josh Gordon. No more weed. You are back. The NFL has finally reinstated you, which is just kind of a crazy thing, but good for him. So here is the conditional basis that he's allowed to return on. Effective immediately, Gordon may join the Browns to attend meetings, engage in conditioning work, and individual workouts. He will be placed on the commissioner's exempt list and permitted to practice with the team beginning Monday, November 20th. So congratulations to Josh Gordon. Welcome back to him. I'm not sure when the next time we will actually see him on a football field is, but I have to say this, Cam. If there are any more suspensions for Josh Gordon, I'm pretty sure it would be a lifetime ban. So this is officially his last chance.
This is finally over, Harris. I think it's finally over. I think he is ready to roll, ready to play football again. If you recall, he was a fantastic wide receiver when he was on the field. And the Cleveland Browns right now have a wide receiving core that is absolutely putrid in Ricardo Lewis, Rashard Higgins, and Kenny Britt.
Hold on. My one worry about Josh Gordon is that he had like his crazy good season, 1,600 yards, 9 touchdowns, but it was more of, remember, do you remember Braylon Edwards?
Yes.
Our lovely CEO loves Braylon Edwards, Michigan wide receiver, is amazing in Michigan. In the NFL, though, he had one good year with the Browns. And then after that was just complete garbage in the NFL. The year after Josh Gordon had those numbers, he only played 5 games, and he only had 303 yards and no touchdowns. The year before that, in 16 games, he had 805 yards and 5 touchdowns. So in 35 total games, he only has 2,700 total yards. So we'll see what ends up happening with Josh Gordon. We'll see. He's been out of football for a long time, Cam. Long time. We'll see.
But you have to assume that this guy's been working out hard.
I hope so.
He's in shape. He's ready to roll. I mean, this has been a long time coming for Josh Gordon. Let's take a look at the games in which he will be able to play in after he is officially reinstated on November 20th, when he can actually be with the team, engage in meetings, etc. So here's the schedule. So December 4th, or after December 4th, you have December 10th, that game against the Green Bay Packers. December 17th against the Baltimore Ravens. Christmas Eve against the Chicago Bears. And against the Pittsburgh Steelers on December 31st. In the grand scheme of things for Cleveland's season, Harris, this doesn't mean much. Right. Cleveland's not going to the playoffs. But the story in which Josh Gordon is back in the NFL, I think, is significant in the fact that he battled back from a lot of adversity, a lot of issues, and clearly ready to roll here and play for the Cleveland Browns and probably help a lot.
And I'm just a little worried about something, Cam. I'm worried that this regime that the Browns currently have might just fire him outright, or not fire, might just cut him outright. I mean, let him find a new home in the NFL. Clearly his time with the Browns was a rough one. We'll see. It's going to be kind of an iffy thing as to what they exactly do with Josh Gordon, whether or not they keep him, whether or not they cut him. I think he could be a productive player. I think you'd give Deshaun Kaiser a legitimate person to throw to that isn't Jordan Leslie or something. So good for Josh Gordon. Congratulations to him. I don't know what we're going to get out of him. He hasn't played football in a long time, but I will say this. He is only 26 years old. He turns 27 in April. This would be a stellar wide receiver about to enter his prime if he was able to get in.
Well, I think now is a good time to look at his Pro Football Focus grades. And in 2013, 85.7, that was a very high grade.
One of the elite receivers, yep.
Yep, and 80.2 in 2014. So clearly good individual seasons for Josh Gordon. Obviously a deep play threat, a guy that has been waiting for his chance for so long. Can you imagine the amount of dialogue that has gone on between him and the National Football League to get him back onto the football field? You don't see him actually screwing this up, do you?
Well, you know what, Cam?
He can't.
Yes, he can. Yes, he most certainly can, because every single time they unsuspended him, he would mess it up again. But again, this is the last chance that Josh Gordon is going to be given by the NFL. I think, I don't say this a lot, Cam, and, I might need you to hold me as I say this. Credit to Roger Goodell for actually giving Josh Gordon another chance instead of being a stubborn ass and not letting him play again. It's just marijuana. He's gone to rehab a bunch of times. Let the man play football. If he messes up again, fine, whatever. But there you go. Good for Josh Gordon about being let back up. So we have a reaction poll for everyone here. Will Josh Gordon screw this second, third, fourth chance again? A wild face for no, a laughy face for yes. Cam?
I'm going to say no. I mean, can you imagine the amount of trouble he has gone through, the amount of effort and energy he has put into this process to convince Roger Goodell and the NFL that, hey, I'm back to being me and what I was in a former life and ready to play football again? I mean, I'm going to go with a hard no. I'm giving up my wow face. But, folks, definitely throw in your reactions. We'll be tracking them throughout the broadcast. I want to summarize once again.
Oh, wait, Cam. Sorry. Josh Gordon just got suspended again.
What?
I'm kidding. I'm totally messing with you, but it could happen.
I was like, new breaking news bar.
It just feels like every time he gets suspended, it happens that fast. So we'll see what ends up happening with Josh Gordon. I'm a little skeptical.
So the breaking news, of course, folks, if you're just tuning in to Chat Sports NFL Daily, Josh Gordon reinstated on conditional basis. Here is essentially the timeline that we're going to follow, Harris. On November 20th, he can practice with the team.
Okay.
On November 27th, he can count and be a part of the active roster. On December 4th, the Browns must officially add him or cut him at that point.
Okay.
So, another headline to kind of look at, will the Browns actually cut Josh Gordon out before December 4th and be like, hey, go off, test the market, see what you get?
Apparently, he can also play the December 3rd game against the Chargers. And then on the 4th, the Browns can then decide to cut him or let him stay on the team. So he technically could play a total of 5 games this season if they decide to. I wonder what he knows about the playbook. That's kind of one of my big questions. But, I mean, I think the Browns will take him at this point. Can you imagine Josh Gordon? I still think that would be great for Josh Gordon to be free agent this offseason. Maybe take like a 1-year deal like Alshon Jeffrey did with the Eagles. Maybe Josh Gordon goes to the Bears. I mean, there's so many options. I mean, he is from Houston, Texas. I don't think he's going to go back to Houston. But could you imagine Josh Gordon taking a 1-year deal maybe with the Dallas Cowboys, who desperately need a number 2 wide receiver because Terrence Williams is straight garbage, put him in the trash? So there are a lot of different angles that this whole Josh Gordon situation could go. And I think it's good for the NFL that he's back because when he was, playing up to his best, he was spectacular.
Yep.
So we'll see.
If you're just tuning in, folks, this is NFL Daily on Chat Sports Facebook Live. Cam Rogers alongside Harris Rubenstein, breaking down the latest news across the NFL. It's only Wednesday, Harris. It's only Wednesday.
The NFL rules. Do you know what, Cam, do you know why this came out today? Because Game 7 of the World Series is on tonight, and the NFL is absurdly jealous that baseball is getting all the attention. Absurdly jealous.
What do you think about this timing now? With the trade deadline yesterday, and I guess the NFL now had some time to finally lay down a decision with Josh Gordon today. Any interesting headlines coming out of that?
Well, interesting headlines is that maybe the NFL did this because they were mad at the Browns for messing up the trade so badly yesterday, and they're like, all right, fine. You want to mess things up for us? Here's Josh Gordon. Enjoy this. So just another thing on the Browns' plate that they had to deal with. But I really do think, look, at this point, Josh Gordon is 26 years old. Either he's grown up or he hasn't. There isn't, 2 sides to this anymore. Eventually, Janoris Jenkins grew up. He had a couple of issues early in his career.
Dante Stallworth,
same concept. Eventually, they got their heads together. And if Josh Gordon can get his head together, I still think he can be a fantastic NFL wide receiver. Again, he is 26 years old. He's 3 years younger than Antonio Brown. I'm pretty sure he is the same age as Julio Jones. So Josh Gordon could realistically have a very long and successful NFL career if he doesn't mess this up again.
Okay, so don't get me wrong. I'm sure Josh Gordon desperately wants to play on a football field, no matter for what team.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, do you think there's a part of his mind right now that's like, all right, I can't be here. I can't be in Cleveland in the way in which this team is headed this direction.
I think it might be healthy for Josh Gordon to get cut. I think this marriage has been waiting for an annulment for a very long time, Cam.
Yeah.
And I think it's a little bit of an issue. I think Josh Gordon should probably get cut and find a new place. Again, Chicago is an option. Dallas is another option. There are a lot of other places that Josh Gordon could go. We'll have more for you guys in a little bit as to where he could go and what the deal is with Josh Gordon. But for now, he has been reinstated. Welcome back to the NFL, Josh Gordon. Stay off the weed. Stay off the weed.
You know, Harris, do you want to just handle the show for the rest of the evening here? Because I need to pick up Josh Gordon on my fantasy team.
Oh, really? Go ahead. Go ahead. I got LVPs. Come on, we'll be back with more Josh Gordon information.
So we were talking about the least valuable player power rankings, and we had number 5, the Lions' red zone offense, a putrid performance against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's check in with number 4, Harris, Derek Carr.
Yeah, Derek Carr had a really, really rough week. And, this Raiders team is going in the total opposite direction right now. Derek Carr and this offense has just not been what they thought it was going to be this year. So he's on our list. He got killed by the Bills.
Yeah, Derek Carr, clearly part of that major disappointment Oakland Raiders team. So there he is at number 4. By the way, our least valuable player rankings are based off of last week. So this is not a season-long list like in past segments. We've kind of changed things around a little bit because we want to really keen in on the recent performances. So with that, let's get to number 3 here. Jameis Winston went into this game against the Carolina Panthers with a major AC joint injury, and he looked good, kind of-ish, and then he kind of didn't. It seemed as though the fatigue started to set in a little bit, Harris, in that game. Jameis Winston ended up playing pretty poorly.
You know what, Cam? It's what I always say about Jameis. You never know what you're going to get every single week. You never know if you're going to get good Jameis or if you're going to get bad Jameis. And this weekend, we got bad Jameis Winston. So next week, we could see great Jameis Winston. He could put up MVP-like numbers. But for now, Jameis Winston, LVP. Least valuable player.
Jameis Winston checking in at number 3. How about number 2? Matt Moore could not muster any points against the Baltimore Ravens on Thursday Night Football. Miami Dolphins got blown out in that game against those Ravens in Charm City. Matt Moore, obviously not the long-term answer for Miami. Heck, Jay Cutler isn't even the long-term answer right now, but he's there because of what was really a bad performance overall. The stats were pretty gross. He went 25 of 44, 176 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions, both of those pick sixes.
Yeah, and Matt Moore, by the way, is also just not very good. I mean, I gotta say, I'll admit it. I was one of the people in the camp that thought that he should have gotten the starting job over Cutler, blah blah blah. But it turns out that they both suck, so it doesn't really matter. Matt Moore was really, really bad this past weekend, but he wasn't nearly as bad as our number 1 man. That now you have to be so bad at football to be benched for Brock Osweiler, Trevor Siemian.
He was absolutely disgusting.
You got benched for Brock Osweiler, bro.
So
Brock.
I love referencing Pro Football Focus. Trevor Siemian, ready for this, Harris?
Yes.
Is 32nd among 34 qualified quarterbacks, according to Pro Football Focus. 32nd worst quarterback in the National Football League. Has been supplanted by Brock Osweiler. And my argument with Trevor Siemian, he is essentially Brock Osweiler Jr. with just a shorter release. That's all it is. So there is your summary list, ladies and gentlemen, for least valuable player power rankings. Lions red zone offense at number 5, Derek Carr at number 4, Jameis Winston at number 3, Matt Moore at number 2, and Trevor Siemian at number 1. And Trevor Siemian won't even have an opportunity to really redeem himself, Harris, because as you mentioned, Brock Osweiler is indeed going to be the starter for Denver this week. Okay, folks, you've been watching this program here, and you probably see that red bar at the top. Yes, we have breaking news. Josh Gordon reinstated on conditional basis. He will be good to play for the Cleveland Browns very soon, in a matter of a few weeks. Very interesting timing, the day after the trade deadline. Gordon can start practicing with the Browns starting November 20th. The Browns have until December 4th to cut or add him to the roster.
I just don't understand why the NFL reinstated him now. And also, he applied for reinstation on March 1st and then got denied on May 11th. and just got reinstated now. So I'm kind of confused as to why it was this specifically. So I know he had a meeting with the NFL today, but like, why did they reinstate him now? Why didn't they reinstate him back in May? Like, I wish the NFL would give a little bit more of a reasoning as to why it was now instead of later.
Okay, so you see the breaking news there, folks, and we are indeed presented by Man Crates. Fantastic boxes full of masculinity. Wood crates that come with a crowbar filled with goodies that guys love.
Like me.
I guess using the word goodie doesn't really go along with masculinity, but I digress. It is a great product, ladies and gentlemen. Check out that website, mancrates.com/chatsports. Many thanks to them for coming along here on NFL Daily. Let's summarize what we have so far in our MVP power rankings. There's Kareem Hunt at number 10, Todd Gurley at number 9, Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson respectively at 8 and 7, both big-time performances just recently. And Antonio Brown there at number 6, the number 1 wide receiver in the NFL. All right, Harris, time for the top 5. Let's get into it. Le'Veon Bell, Mr. Bell Cow back for the Pittsburgh Steelers. A big reason why they're playing good football.
Yeah, and again, he's the best running back in football and will continue to be the best running back football until David Johnson plays another game or anyone else can just magically, create a legendary running style. I loved how you had Vontae Burfict this week being like, oh, Lev Bell thinks he's way better because apparently Joe Mixon says that he can be a better Le'Veon Bell, which I love the confidence on the young man, but I don't think that's true at all. I don't think Joe Mixon's even close to the running back that Le'Veon Bell is. And then for Burfict to say that Joe Mixon is just a straight up better running back than Bell is just kind of, I don't know. I think that's pretty foolish to say. But look, Le'Veon Bell is a fantastic running back. He's the best one in the NFL. I love Le'Veon Bell. I hope Le'Veon Bell is great forever.
He has been fantastic this year, and I really do believe
I hope he's great forever.
Exactly. I do believe he is revolutionizing the running back position with the way in which he runs, the fantastic patience. It's so different than any other running back right now. You have your one cuts, your two cuts, etc., your stretch runners. But Le'Veon Bell waits and waits and waits for the blocks to develop. He trusts in his run blocking from his offensive line, and he gets it done. 25 carries, 76 yards, most recently against Detroit. I mean, yeah, that's not awesome, but still, you look at the entire body of work so far this year, it's been pretty impressive. So Le'Veon Bell is at number 5 in our MVP power rankings. Really has had a fantastic season. Will continue to do so, I think.
Yeah, I think, and also we have a cool way in here,
yep.
Cam, because I want to actually ask this question. If you were starting a franchise today, who would you rather have, Cam? Would you rather start an NFL franchise with Le'Veon Bell, or would you rather start a franchise with Antonio Brown?
The answer is so simple because I have a philosophy, offensively speaking, of running the football, play action down the field. How do you get the play action down the field to be effective? You got to run the football. Give me Le'Veon Bell all day, every day, because Le'Veon Bell opens up opportunities for wide receivers. Antonio Brown, he's great, he's fantastic, all that, doesn't necessarily open up opportunities for running back.
Well, see, I've always asked that question, and, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Who opens up what for who? Does Le'Veon Bell open stuff up for Antonio Brown on the outside? Or does Antonio Brown open up stuff for Le'Veon Bell on the inside by forcing them to respect what he can do in the middle of the field so much? I think it's kind of a mixture of both, which is why it's so unfair to have them both on the same team. But I will say this, Cam, I think I'm actually going to have to agree with you. I think, by the way, we're doing this regardless of age. I understand that you're going to get 3 more years of Le'Veon Bell than you will of Antonio Brown. Whatever. Not really concerned about that. But Le'Veon Bell, I think, I think Le'Veon Bell has to be the pick here. He's the best running back in football. Running backs, for my money at least, are more valuable than wide receivers. I also have a man crush on Le'Veon Bell. I think he's maybe one of the 5 best running backs I've ever watched play football. So go Le'Veon Bell.
All right, folks, throw in your options, throw in your opinions, Bell or Brown, and we will be tracking those comments throughout. Let's get to number 4 here in our MVP Power Rankings, talking about a guy who is coming off a historic performance. Here's why. Drew Brees joined Pro Football Hall of Famer Brett Favre and Peyton Manning as the only players in NFL history with at least 6,000 completions.
We here at the Chat Sports office, and Tom Downey specifically, are dying for Drew Brees to get an MVP trophy. Dying for Drew Brees to to get an MVP trophy. And I'm happy that we have officially put him in our top 5. He deserves to be there. The Saints are finally good, and he's a big reason why. He has been their leader for the past decade or so. I'm a big Drew Brees guy, Cam, and I think it's pretty spectacular to see him see him doing what he's doing this
23 of 28. Think about that completion percentage. That's over 80%.
And
the guy is automatic.
No touchdowns is kind of fine for me. The Bears have a decent red zone defense. I think that a lot of it, they kicked a lot of field goals. They moved the ball pretty well. But Drew Brees having a pretty fantastic season. I think those numbers will be tops of the NFL by the end of the year.
Okay, so Drew Brees there checking in at number 4. We do have a weigh-in we want to get to real quick.
Okay.
Will Drew Brees win another Super Bowl? Of course, he won it after that 2009 campaign.
This is so hard because there are so many great teams in the NFC right now that it's going to be really tough for the Saints team to get through it. I think Drew Brees has a 2.5-year window left to win a Super Bowl. It's this year, it's next year, and maybe he'll have a Carson Palmer year the year after that if that Saints defense has become one of the best in the NFL. They've been great this year. We'll see how they do over the next couple of years. But his window is shrinking, and it's shrinking fast. Carson Wentz's window is wide open. The Seahawks window is wide open. So we'll see what happens with the Saints team. They have a much smaller window than everyone else around them in the NFC. I think it's going to be tough. I unfortunately say no.
Okay, we'll see what happens. I'm going to say yes, because I think there are pieces on that defense that are going to continue to be disruptive. Cam Jordan, Lattimore, etc. So stay tuned. Drew Brees get another ring, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to number 3 in our MVP power rankings. Alex Smith, quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. This guy has just been automatic too.
Yeah, we moved him back up our list because so many people were yammering at us about it. Even though he didn't have a great game and only had a couple hundred yards, and some change last week against the Broncos. Very game manager-esque from Alex Smith, 14 of 31 for 202 and a TD. But again, you cannot downplay the great season that he's had so far. Hasn't thrown a pick yet, 16 TDs to 0 picks. It's been fantastic. I believe he's second or third in the NFL in passing yards right now. He's been spectacular. He just hasn't been as good as the number 1 or number 2 guy on our list so far. I think Alex Smith is probably going to be a stable guy in our top 5 for the rest of the year, but back by popular demand, Alex Smith in our top 3.
You know why this week for Alex Smith is super important for his MVP hopes?
Why?
He's playing the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
He's going to be on primetime, late window TV, if you will. So big opportunity for Alex Smith to kind of rise that stock or let it fall. We shall see. He plays the Dallas Cowboys this week at AT&T Stadium. Alex Smith at number 3. How about number 2? Carson Wentz, quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. Wentz tied for the NFL lead with 19 touchdown passes, the most by an Eagles quarterback through the team's first 8 games of the season. And this guy has just been fantastic.
And by the way, he is 1B behind our number 1 guy. This isn't like a far and away number 1 and number 2. This is an incredibly close MVP race. I don't want people to get this confused. The reason we have him at number 2 is because he is a second-year quarterback, and the Eagles as a team as a whole have been great this year as well. But he is right there in the MVP race, 3rd in the NFL in passing yards, top 3 right now in passing touchdowns as well. He has been spectacular. I really do think, and we asked this question during cold open, he's tied for first in passing touchdowns. Is Carson Wentz going to replace the Tom Brady's and the Aaron Rodgers of the world as the league's best quarterback? So I ask another question to you, Cam. I love these. Who would you rather have for the next 5 years? An in-prime Russell Wilson, a rookie Deshaun Watson, or the second-year men Carson Wentz or Dak Prescott? These are tough ones, and I apologize for the crying face on Dak Prescott. We are Cowboys lovers here. So no crying face for Dak Prescott. However, who would you rather have, Cam? I think this is a fun question.
Not Dak Prescott.
Okay.
Not Deshaun Watson, because
Really?
I'm impatient.
Okay.
I want results. And not Russell Wilson.
Really?
Because I need a little more size in my quarterback.
Interesting.
Give me Carson Wentz.
Okay.
I like the way in which he has developed this year. His IQ is fantastic, and maybe his success has a little bit to do with the offensive line and the running backs there, so maybe I could lean towards a Russell Wilson. But I'm going to go with Carson Wentz. I really like the way he is playing right now. Major leap this season for him.
You know what? I'm seeing a lot of happy faces right now.
A lot of Wentz
Carson
fans.
Wentz. A lot of Wentz fans. I'm actually going to go away from Carson Wentz on this one. I know Carson Wentz is playing well right now.
The people know what's up. They're going with
But
Wentz.
do you know what I want, Cam?
What do you want?
I want a Super Bowl champion.
That's fair.
Want a guy who is a bona fide leader on and off the field. And I also want a guy who is in his prime. Give me Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, if you put an actual offensive line in front of him, he's going to be, in my opinion, one of the 5 best quarterbacks in football every single year. He is 28 years old. He is about to get into his prime. 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Those are the years I get for Russell Wilson. And I think we are seeing a slice of what Russell Wilson's going to be able to do during his peak. They've already gone to 2 Super Bowls in his career. I would not be surprised if they go to another 2 in the next 5 or 6 years. I want Russell Wilson.
Hey, I would not talk you out of it. I'll tell you that much. I mean, it's 1A, 1B for me with Wentz and Wilson.
I will agree with you on Dak. I think Dak Prescott will only be as good as the people you put around him. And I think he got a very, if he got given to the Browns, he would have been no good. But that doesn't mean he's a bad quarterback. Dak Prescott is a good
Just not a high ceiling.
Exactly. I think he will always be as good as what you put around him, but that's not a problem because guess what? The Cowboys are really good, so Dak Prescott's really good. It's fine.
All right, so Carson Wentz, number 2. Let's get to number 1 in our MVP power rankings. It is Thomas Brady, New England Patriots quarterback coming off a win against those Chargers.
And it's a pretty interesting number 1 to have right now because Jimmy Garoppolo has been traded. So this basically is the Patriots telling Tom Brady, they gave Brian Hoyer a 3-year backup deal as well. All right, Tom, play into your 40s. Let's see what you got. And do you know what he's got so far, Cam? He's got a 16 touchdown to 2-pick touchdown interception ratio, and he's leading the NFL in passing yards at 40 years old. Patriots have come back around, and I got to tell you, Cam, as a Patriots fan, if Tom Brady was not the quarterback, this team would be bad. This would be a bad football team. This is not a good New England Patriots football team without Tom Brady on it. They might not be above 500 without him. I'm serious. This is not a good team.
So Tom Brady has been around for so long,
straight up.
It begs the question, how many years does he have left?
Well, the Patriots think that he has at least 3 years left. So they have him through his 41, 42, and 43 season. I think that's where it caps off. He wants to play until he's 45. I don't really believe that anyone can. I mean, who is it?
Steve DeBerg.
Steve DeBerg.
The oldest quarterback ever to play in an NFL game at 44 years, 279 days old. Nobody's ever done it at 45.
But I'll say this. Tom Brady has always said that he'll play until he sucks. And we have no idea when that's going to be. And that's kind of why this question is such a crazy one to ask. Because what if Tom Brady's 44 years old and is still putting up 4,500 passing yards and 40 touchdowns? What do? You keep him. Got to keep him.
Yeah, I guess.
It's the craziest thing, but with Garoppolo gone, now the Patriots have to develop another quarterback behind Tom Brady, Brian Hoyer, Ryan Mallett, now Garoppolo. Like, they've had to go through all these young quarterbacks waiting for Brady to leave, and he just won't leave. They don't know what to do with him, so they just kept him.
Tom Brady has had a fantastic year so far. That's why he is our number 1 in our MVP power rankings. Let's summarize what we got so far. Kareem Hunt there at number 10. Todd Gurley at number 9. Russell Wilson at number 8. Deshaun Watson at number 7. Antonio Brown at number 6.
And I like the number 10 that we have, 10 through 6. I think that Russell Wilson over the next couple weeks is only going to get higher. I think that Deshaun Watson being ahead of him is a little bit of a crime, but I think that's only because Russell Wilson has only been good for about the last 3 games or so. So we'll see what happens after Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson. You see Antonio Brown there at number 6. Best wide receiver in football so far in the NFL. I don't think it's a real question mark anymore. He has been absolutely spectacular. And we'll move over to our number 1 through number 5 summary. And we have Le'Veon Bell sitting there at number 5, Drew Brees at 4, Alex Smith at 3, Wentz at 2, and Brady at 1. And again, ladies and gentlemen at home, Brady and Wentz, it is not a number 1 and a far and away number 2. They are not far away. It is a very, very close race right now. It is 1A and 1B with Brady and Wentz. They are neck and neck right now. The reason that we have given Brady the leg up is because he's doing this at 40 years old. And for crying out loud, the NFL voters gave Peyton Manning a vote when he didn't play at the age of 37. So you know they love giving these guys, or especially the older guys, a little bit more of a benefit of the doubt. So we'll see as the season goes on. But for now, Cam, how about we talk a little bit more about Josh Gordon?
Yes, the breaking news, of course, that came out just a few moments ago, ladies and gentlemen. Josh Gordon is back in the National Football League. He's been reinstated on a conditional basis. Mr. Roger Goodell finally said, Josh, you get another chance. He has not played since 2014, although when he did play in those years, in 2013, 2014, respectively, a very effective wide receiver. He has had his fair share of adversity, Harris, safe to say.
Yeah, you know, he's been suspended for just about every drug in the book. I mean, if you go around, you read some reports about him, you know he dealt with a lot of different drug and alcohol issues. I mean, he even said it himself that he marijuana, Xanax, alcohol abuse, codeine, cocaine. So a lot of drug and alcohol issues for Josh Gordon. It was great to see him get into that patient treatment rehab center. He released a statement while he was in there saying that he was taking a step back from his NFL dream and with the Cleveland Browns. Seems that he's cleaned up his act. He met with the NFL today. Roger Goodell has granted his reinstatement. Now it is just more of a question now, Cam, who does he end up playing football for? Because I think that everyone, including him and the Browns, can agree it's probably time for him to move on from Cleveland.
You know what's going to happen these next few weeks? Cleveland Browns front office is going to be fielding a ton of calls.
Well, the Cleveland Browns front office should all be fired.
That's true, too, because they messed up the A.J. McCarron thing.
And they went home at 5 p.m. to play with their kids while Jimmy Garoppolo, their potential franchise quarterback, was being traded to San Francisco.
5 o'clock is quitting time, Harris, okay?
It's weak. On the night before the trade deadline, weakness. We work here until at least 6:30, 7 o'clock every single day at Chat Sports. You're telling me that the Cleveland Browns can't work longer than we do? Weakness, Cleveland Browns. Weakness.
So essentially the Browns have a choice up until December 4th if they want to keep Josh Gordon or cut him. And if I had to guess, I'm going to guess that they will be cutting Josh Gordon and kind of essentially moving on to a new chapter. Look, do the Cleveland Browns need help at wide receiver? Of course they do.
Where do they not need help?
Of course they do, especially with Corey Coleman going out with an injury earlier this year, etc. So even though that is true, I think it's time to kind of move along both sides. I mean, Hugh Jackson probably didn't even know who this guy is.
Well, I can tell you one thing. Every single time they've asked Hugh Jackson a question about Josh Gordon, he would always deflect it away and talk about how, oh, I don't know if he has a spot on this team. We'll make a decision when we get there. And it's like, no. It makes no sense to me what they're going to do with Josh Gordon. I think they should cut him.
And I think that's what's going to happen, folks. That is the breaking news that just came out a few minutes ago. Of course, we'll be keeping you updated on chatsports.com. Download the Chat Sports app as well. We'll keep you in the flow, if you will, with all of these crazy stories that have come out across the National Football League. Only going to get crazier, folks, because it is the NFL. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. This has been NFL Daily on this Hump Day, Wednesday, November 1st, 2017. We thank you for tuning into this program. Tom Brady, #1 in our MVP power rankings. Will he stay there all year, Harris?
Carson Wentz might beat him out next week, so we'll see.
For Harris Rubenstein, I'm Cam Rogers. Many thanks once again to Man Crates for coming along. We'll see you next time, 6 o'clock Eastern Time tomorrow.
One of the most active trade deadlines in recent memory for the NFL is 4 big-name players swap teams. Who came away with the best deal and why did the Panthers trade Kelvin Benjamin? Cam and Harris have all the info and some winners and losers. Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson dueled this weekend in Seattle, but which one of them ends up higher on our MVP power rankings? Tom Brady was given the golden ticket from the Pats this weekend. How many years does he have left, and could Carson Wentz replace him as the league's best QB? Bell and Brown both make our list, but if you were starting a franchise, who would you rather have? And Trevor Siemian and Matt Moore both sucked wind this weekend. Who comes in at #1 on our LVP power rankings? All those questions will be answered right now.